Blood is notoriously difficult to wash out of uniform canvas, but right now, scrubbing my boots over the industrial sink in the ambulance bay is the only thing keeping my hands from visibly shaking. Julian is sitting on the back bumper of my rig, staring at a styrofoam cup of terrible hospital coffee like it holds the answers to the universe. He is still in his green surgical scrubs, a stethoscope shoved haphazardly into his cargo pocket. He has been unusually quiet for the last 20 minutes, and for a trauma surgeon whose entire career is built on commanding chaotic rooms with a booming voice and decisive action, his silence is deafening. Before I get into the sirens and the absolute wreck of my personal life, let me know down in the comments what city or country you are listening from right now. I always wonder where my stories end up, and it helps to know I am talking to real people out there. Anyway, Julian finally looks up, the fluorescent lights of the loading dock casting sharp shadows across his exhausted face. "The caterer called today," he says. His voice is flat, not anxious, not stressed about the details, just completely, terrifyingly hollow. I turn off the water and grab a paper towel. "Caterers usually do that when you are getting married in 2 months," I reply carefully, leaning against the cold metal of the sink. "Did they run out of the miniature crab cakes?" He does not smile. He just traces the rim of his cup. "They needed the final seating arrangement. I stared at the spreadsheet for an hour. It looks like a schematic for a disaster." I wipe down my hands, feeling the familiar, dull ache settling in my chest. For context, Julian is engaged to Clara. Clara is a pediatric oncologist. She is brilliant, compassionate, and has hair that always looks professionally blown out, even after a 12-hour shift. They are the hospital's undisputed power couple. They are on fundraising brochures together. The engagement happened on a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline, complete with a hired photographer and a string quartet. I know this because I was the one who drove him to pick up the ring, and I was the one who hit the like button on the inevitable social media post while sitting alone in the dark cab of my ambulance, listening to the rain hit the windshield. "Weddings are logistics," I say, walking over and sitting down on the bumper next to him. "Not too close. Never too close. You handle mass casualty incidents, Jules. You can handle a seating chart." "People keep telling me this is supposed to be the best time of my life," he mutters, leaning forward and resting his elbows on his knees. "So why do I feel like I am walking to my own execution?" The rawness of the question catches me completely off guard. I look at him, really look at him. There are dark circles under his eyes and a tension in his jaw that I have never seen before. "You do not sound like a man who is excited to marry the perfect woman," I admit softly. Julian exhales a long, shaky breath. "I love Clara." He says it mechanically, like he is reading a medical chart. "It does not sound convincing," I tell him. He drops his head into his hands. "I know, and that is exactly the problem." I do not know what to say. I have known Julian for 10 years. We met in undergrad, long before the ambulances and the operating rooms. We survived grueling pre-med courses, endless residency shifts, and the kind of exhaustion that bonds people together like wet cement. He is my person, the one I call when I pull a kid out of a wrecked car and cannot sleep afterward. And because he is my person, I have spent the last 8 years desperately, quietly in love with him. It is not a loud, cinematic kind of love. It is a chronic condition. It is the subtle, persistent reality of my life. I have structured my entire existence around being near enough to him to survive, but far enough away to keep the secret. He is a straight, engaged, successful surgeon. I am the gritty, paramedic best friend who lives in a cramped apartment and brings him coffee at 3 in the morning. I know my place. "Do you want to call it off?" I ask, forcing the words out through a tight throat. His head snaps up. "No, I cannot." He says it too fast. "I mean, I cannot do that to her. Our lives are completely entangled, Elias. My parents, her parents, the hospital board. Everyone looks at us and sees the future they want to see." "But what do you want?" I ask. He turns to look at me, and the space between us suddenly feels incredibly small. I want my brain to shut off for 5 minutes, he whispers. I want to stop feeling like I am acting in a play that somebody else wrote. He reaches out and grips my shoulder. It is a casual gesture, something he has done 1,000 times, but tonight his fingers press into my collarbone with a desperate kind of weight. You are the only real thing I have right now, Elias. My heart stumbles. I force a dry laugh. Do not say things like that in a damp ambulance bay, Jules. People will talk. Normally, he would laugh. He would shove my shoulder and make a terrible joke. But tonight he just stares at me, his eyes dark and unreadable. I should get back to the floor, he says finally, standing up abruptly. He drops his empty cup into the biohazard bin. Stay safe out there tonight. He walks away before I can reply, leaving me sitting in the cold air, completely unable to slow my racing pulse. Over the next 3 weeks, Julian's behavior becomes erratic. He starts showing up at my apartment unannounced. Before, we would hang out on my days off, watch a game, drink a few beers, normal best friend stuff. But now it is relentless. He shows up at 0200 hours after his shift ends, wearing civilian clothes, looking like he has not slept in days. He brings takeout, sits on my frayed rug, and talks about absolutely nothing. He avoids going back to his shared townhouse with Clara. He is hiding, and he is using me as the bunker. The breaking point happens on a Tuesday. There is a massive winter storm hitting the city, freezing rain taking down power lines. My EMS station is running back-to-back calls. I bring in a bad hypothermia case, rushing the stretcher through the sliding doors of the emergency department. The hospital is operating on backup generators, casting a sickly yellow glow over the busy corridors. After handing off the patient, I retreat to the basement supply stairwell to grab some thermal blankets for my rig. The stairwell is freezing, dimly lit by a single emergency bulb. I am halfway down the concrete steps when the heavy fire door opens above me. Julian steps inside, letting the door slam shut, cutting off the noise of the emergency room. He is breathing hard. You are hiding from the chaos, Doctor, I ask, turning around with a stack of foil blankets in my arms. I am hiding from Clara, he says, descending the stairs slowly. She came down to the ER to bring me dinner. She started talking about the floral arrangements for the reception. He reaches the landing where I am standing. It is a narrow space. We are barely 2 feet apart. The air is freezing, but I can feel the heat radiating off him. You cannot keep avoiding her, I tell him, my voice echoing slightly against the concrete. You are getting married in 5 weeks. Stop reminding me, he snaps, running a hand through his hair. He looks cornered, wild. I am losing my mind, Elias. I look at her, and I feel nothing but panic. I look at my house, and it looks like a prison. I look at my life, and I do not recognize the person living it. Then you have to tell her the truth, I say firmly. I do not know what the truth is, he shouts, his voice cracking. He steps closer, crowding me against the cold metal railing. The only time I feel like I can breathe is when I am standing right here, with you. The basement is completely silent. I can hear the hum of the backup generator vibrating through the floorboards. My throat is entirely dry. Julian, I warn him, a dangerous edge in my voice. Do not put this on me. You are having a pre-wedding crisis. Do not use me as your escape hatch. You think this is just a crisis? He asks, his voice dropping to an intense, ragged whisper. He steps even closer. His chest is almost touching mine. I can smell the antiseptic soap he uses, mixed with the sharp scent of his sweat. You think I am just stressed about flowers? Elias, I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. Every time I try to picture myself standing at that altar, the only thing I can think about is the fact that you will be sitting in the front row, watching me throw my life away. My lungs stop working. I stare at him, paralyzed. What are you saying? I ask weakly. Julian looks terrified. His eyes dart down to my mouth, then back up to my eyes. His breathing is shallow and uneven. I am saying that I am terrified, he confesses, his voice trembling, because I think I am forcing myself to marry a woman when the person I actually want to come home to has been sitting right in front of me for 10 years. The concrete walls seem to spin. The foil blanket slipped from my hands and crashed softly to the floor. Julian, stop, I whisper, panic surging through my veins. You are exhausted. You are confused. I am not confused, he says desperately, his hands coming up to grip my upper arms. His grip is painfully tight. Look at me, Elias. Tell me you do not feel it. Tell me I am insane. I cannot speak. I have spent my entire adult life building a fortress around this exact secret, and he is tearing it down with a single look. I try to step back, but my spine hits the handrail. You are engaged, I manage to choke out. I do not care, he breathes, his face inches from mine. I do not care about the wedding. I do not care about any of it. And before my brain can process the reality of the situation, Julian leans forward and presses his mouth to mine. It is not a gentle, romantic kiss. It is a collision. It is desperate and clumsy and fueled by years of repressed gravity. He kisses me like a drowning man taking his first breath. My entire body goes rigid in shock, but then my hands are moving on their own, grabbing the lapels of his scrubs, pulling him closer. The kiss breaks me open. It destroys every lie I have told myself since I was 20 years old. He tastes like bitter coffee and sheer panic, and it is the most intoxicating thing I have ever experienced. He pulls away abruptly, his chest heaving, his eyes wide with a mixture of horror and profound relief. We stand there in the dim, yellow light, the silence roaring between us. Julian touches his own mouth, staring at me like he has never seen me before. I have to go, he whispers, his voice completely broken. He turns and bolts up the stairs, throwing open the fire door and disappearing back into the chaos of the hospital. I stay in the freezing stairwell for 20 minutes, unable to move, unable to breathe properly. The next 48 hours are sheer agony. I do not hear a single word from him. I work my shifts on autopilot. I patch up wounds, start IV lines, and stare blankly at the wet pavement through the windshield of the ambulance. Every time my phone buzzes, my heart leaps into my throat, but it is never him. On Thursday night, I am sitting in my dark apartment, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that the kiss was a stress-induced anomaly. I am trying to figure out how to resign from my job and move to another city because I know I cannot attend that wedding now. I cannot watch him marry her. Suddenly, there is a frantic pounding on my front door. I freeze. It is midnight. The pounding continues, loud and desperate. I get up, my joints stiff, and walk to the door. I pull it open. Julian is standing in the hallway. It is pouring rain outside, and he is completely soaked. His jacket is plastered to his shoulders, water dripping from his hair onto the cheap carpet of the corridor. He looks absolutely wrecked. His eyes are red-rimmed, and he is shivering violently. "Julian?" I ask, stepping back to let him in. He walks into the middle of my living room and just stands there, dripping water onto the floorboards. He looks around my messy apartment like it is a sanctuary. "I told her," he says. The words are barely a croak. The floor drops out from under me. "You what?" "I broke it off," he says, wrapping his arms around himself. "I packed a bag. I left." I close the door slowly, my hands shaking so badly I can barely turn the deadbolt. "Julian, what did you do?" "I told her the truth," he says, looking at me with a shattered expression. "Not everything. I did not mention you. I just... I told her I could not marry her. I told her I was living a lie." She was so angry, Elias. She threw a vase at the wall. She screamed that I had wasted her life. He swallows hard, a tear mixing with the rainwater on his cheek. "Her parents were supposed to fly in tomorrow. The entire hospital is going to know by morning." I walk toward him, my chest aching so profoundly I think my ribs might crack. "Why did you do it?" I ask, my voice barely audible. He looks up at me, and all the pretense, all the polished surgeon armor is completely gone. "Because I kissed you," he says softly. And the second I did, I realized that I would rather ruin my entire life than spend one more day pretending I am not in love with you. The air leaves my lungs. I stand there in the center of the room, looking at the man I have secretly worshipped for a decade, standing soaking wet in my cheap apartment, having just detonated his entire universe for me. "Say something," Julian pleads, stepping toward me. "Please, Elias, I am terrified. Just tell me I did not imagine it. Tell me you feel it too." I look at his terrified, beautiful face, and I finally let go of the iron grip I have kept on my own heart. "I have been in love with you since the day we met," I confess, the words tearing out of my throat. Julian freezes. The breath hitches in his chest. "Since undergrad?" he whispers, disbelief washing over his features. "For 10 years, every single day. It has been a living nightmare watching you build a life with someone else." A complex wave of emotion crashes over Julian's face. Shock, profound guilt, and finally, a breathtaking sense of clarity. He takes the final step, closing the distance between us, reaches out, and frames my face with both of his freezing hands. "I am so sorry I made you wait," he whispers against my mouth. When he kisses me this time, there is no panic. There is no rushing. It is intentional, deep, and completely overwhelming. I wrap my arms around his waist, pulling his wet body against mine, burying my face in the crook of his neck. He holds on to me like I am the only solid thing left in the world, and honestly, right now, I am. The fallout over the next few months is brutal. Small worlds are vicious when their expectations are broken. The hospital rumor mill is merciless. Clara takes a leave of absence, which makes everyone look at Julian like he is a monster. His parents stop speaking to him for 6 weeks. We have to navigate the jagged edges of his guilt and the terrifying reality of finally being together openly. It is messy, it is loud, and it is painful. But fast forward to now. We are standing on the roof of the hospital after a grueling night shift. The sun is just starting to rise over the city, painting the clouds in bruised shades of purple and gold. Julian is standing next to me, our shoulders touching. He is drinking a terrible coffee, looking out at the skyline. He looks tired, yes, but the tension that used to define him is completely gone. He looks real. "My mother called yesterday," he mentions casually, not looking away from the sunrise. "Oh?" I ask, bracing myself. "Yeah. She asked if we wanted to come over for dinner on Sunday." I look at him, surprised. "Really?" He turns his head and smiles at me. It is a small, quiet smile, but it reaches his eyes. "Yeah, I think they are finally realizing that I am not having a breakdown. I am actually just happy." He shifts his weight, his arm pressing warmly against mine. "I am happy, Elias." I lean my head against his shoulder, watching the city wake up below us. For years, loving him felt like a solitary confinement sentence. It felt like carrying a ghost, but now, standing here in the cold morning air, feeling the solid reality of him beside me, I know that every agonizing second of silence was worth it to get to this truth. So, to everyone listening, what do you think? Was the pain of breaking those expectations worth the honest life we have now? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more stories about the messy, beautiful reality of human relationships.